the Mikey's Late Night Slice origin story?
Yeah. I mean, I would say a true bootstrap story because I never thought I'd be here 15 years later talking about, Late Night Slice and everything we've done in the last decade and a half. But we started in the Short North, 2009. I had a little pedicab company before I started the pizza thing. And one thing I kept hearing from people on the back of the pedicab when I would take them home to either their cars, their houses, their the next places they were going to, they were like, "Where's the pizza by the slice in this city?" And after hearing that so many times, I started thinking to myself, like, all right, well, where is the pizza by the slice in this city? In the summer of 2007, 8, 9, we had sausage carts, we had gyros, we had street meat. There may have even been a pizza place or two in the Short North, but there wasn't any pizza by the slice. So in every other big city you go to, they have pizza by the slice everywhere. And we just needed it in Columbus. So I found this little itty bitty shack. It was literally 7 by 4. It was 7 by 20. It was 140 square feet. It was an old used car office for a used car lot that used to operate in the lot right down from my apartment, which was kind of next to Bodega. Now it's next to Oddfellows. It's kind of like the Oddfellows patio. And I asked my landlord if I could rent that out, and he's like, "Sure, buddy, whatever you want. $250 a month. Something really crazy, insanely reasonable at this point." And I went in there and I did all the plumbing myself, and I went in there and I did all the painting, and I was dragging stuff out from when this place was a used car lot, all these used car signs and everything. The place had been vacant for 30, 40 years. And I just started doing all the things that I thought I needed to do to put together a pizza shop. And I'd never come from restaurant background.
Gotcha.
I had never made a pizza in my life.
Oh, man.
I never had like a grandmother that had this recipe that, I needed to get to the people or anything like that. I just saw a need and people were asking for it. I mean, they were literally on the back, be like, "Where's the pizza by the slice?" I was like, "Let's try it." So it was super low cost. It was super low risk. I would drive my little pedicab for a week or two. And at the end of the week or two, I'd have $800 saved up, and I'd get on to these, Craigslist or an auction site and get the cheapest restaurant equipment that I could possibly find, the worst used stuff that I could find that I thought I needed to do a pizza shop, and ride my big tricycle for another couple weeks, and I'd have $1,000 saved up, and I'd buy what I thought would be the pizza oven that I needed. And after doing this for a few months, it was like, all right, we got a pizza shop set up.
Nice.
I think. Who knows how to make pizza? So, after kind of like going and struggling with pizza, and I had this idea of what I wanted pizza to be like, because it was kind of what I wanted, what I liked to eat for pizza, and watching YouTube and figuring out how to stretch a dough ball into a sheet of dough, and it was right around, I would say, July 4th weekend in 2009. I'd finally worked and got all this stuff set up. And we kind of had our starting pizza recipe, and our starting pizza recipe was going up to Pizza Primo in Clintonville and buying pizza from them and heating it in our little shack and selling it out our window. So that was our recipe in the beginning. But July 4th weekend, I called the health department up, and I was like, "All right, I'm ready to be inspected."
Nice.
And they're like, "All right, we have a problem though. We are really backed up, and it's going to be like 5 to 6 weeks before we can get you inspected." And at this point, I had spent every dollar I had opening up this little pizza shop, and I had rent due and bills and everything like that. So I hung up the phone, and I was like, "All right, we'll get us on the schedule." And I hung up the phone, and we opened quietly that night.
Wow, dude.
And so for the first like 6 weeks of Late Night Slice, it was like a total cowboy situation. We were following food rules and everything fine, but we didn't have our green stamp. And this story I can happily tell now because everybody's heard it at this point.
Yeah.
So, a couple weeks later, a Late Night Slice officially opened, and we started getting lines out the door, which was one of the, I think back in that day, in the beginning stages of some of the more ubiquitous brands from Late Night Slice, the Jenny's, the Fusions, the Hot Chickens. We all kind of grew up around the same age. And I always thought going through the Short North, like, if I could have a line out the door like Jenny's has a line out their door, I'm doing something right and I'm onto something. And Late Night Slice started getting lines, and I was like, all right, this thing has some legs to it. And we just leaned in. And that's, and over the years, we've sold pizza in and out of quite literally anything you could possibly think of, from Airstream trailers to bar kitchens. It's just been one of those things, and we've just leaned into it and grown, and we've always tried to make pizza fun. We've always tried to, our business is Pizza Party. That's what we do.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that do pizza. Our business is Pizza Party.
Yeah.
So that's what we've kind of leaned into, with this sect of pizza, that pizza is fun, and we've always had fun with pizza, and we try to make pizza fun.
Dude, that's incredible. I didn't realize that it started from such like humble beginnings to what you are now. That's really wild. So were you like a businessman too? Like, did you go to like Fisher College of Business? Like, because that's really wild to just go from like a bike business to a pizza business. That's really wild stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, I did not go. In fact, I'll tell quick story about when I dropped out of college. I was in probably second year OSU, Ohio State University. I was sophomore-ish. And I remember sitting in this giant math lecture, like a math level 2, something like that. And there was probably, giant lecture hall, 300 people in this thing. And the instructor at the time, I was way far in the back. He spoke incredibly broken English. I couldn't understand him. I couldn't understand him or, kind of what was going on. And I was like, this sucks. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a better way to do this. I was, early 20s, and I was like, there's got to be something else to do. And so I dropped out of college and started traveling the country doing DJ work.
Nice.
So that's how I spent my 20s.
Dude, that's so cool. So DJ work, that kind of might explain part of you leaned into like the fun vibe of pizza, because DJing is very fun and it's all about the vibes and ambiance. And I think Mikey's Late Night Slice really nails it with the vibes and ambiance.
Yeah, thank you.
So like, when did you go from like pizza shop to, oh my God, my sauce is at Kroger? Like, that's kind of a wild transition. Was that like a couple years? Like, what was that journey like?
We've never been shy about leaning into shiny things and total distractions. And that's why Late Night Slice probably arguably should have been, maybe could have been bigger than it is right now, because we've always taken things that we think are fun and just leaned into those. And, the sauces for us, the sauces came in the very beginning. That was one of the things when me and a couple of my partners, Jason and Bryce, were in the very beginnings of Late Night Slice. We were working all day, and in the very beginning, there wasn't a lot of people that were lining up on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'd get in there, and we were probably drinking or smoking or something, and we just started mixing sauces. Nice. And they were like, all right, the garlic's awesome. We all grew up on garlic, thanks to Papa John's. We had a couple of other sauces that we all blended together, and then we all had this, what is the early version of unicorn sauce. Kind of nailed that on the first try. Then we made a spicy version, and then ranch, of course, and garlic. So, it's all about kind of like accessorizing your slice. And that was the thing we did, is just, we'd take the world's most popular thing, the most approachable thing in the world, which is a slice of pizza. And not only do we wrap stuff that's around it cool as far as our brand goes, we let you accessorize it with, sauces and peppers and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And then, so did you folks rebrand it from slut sauce to unicorn sauce per Kroger's request, or were you like, there's no way slut sauce is going on the shelf, I got to change it?
Yeah, no, it was absolutely the latter.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not a Kroger request. We changed the name because it was time to change the name.
Gotcha.
And that's exactly what it was. And I'm glad we did it when we did it, and not any later than when we did it. But it was time. It was a part of Columbus pop culture for a little while, and I'll always be thankful for that. And people still love it. People come up to us every single day, and we're like, I'll never call it anything but slut sauce.
Right.
And that's cool. That's what Late
Not
Night
in my
Slice means to them. Yeah, right. But it was time that we've always, I think Late Night Slice has done a really awesome job over the years of walking the line between classy and trashy. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can walk that line really well, no matter what business you're in, it's brilliant. If you can walk the line between classy and trashy. And, there's a line that we were getting to when, you start telling like fart jokes where it's just like, that doesn't belong with food.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too trashy. Let's bring it back to that line between classy and trashy. And so that's where we like to live.
I love that. One of my followers, thank you for asking, wanted to know, what was your most popular specialty pizza?
Oh, man. I think one of the coolest things we've done over the years is our Pizza of the Week program. And I guess here's the thing. I'll start with this. Pizza is an amazing vessel, right? So you can put anything on pizza, practically. You dream it, you can put anything on it. So that gives us so much runway to do fun stuff with. So, we've done over the years, we did a White Castle pizza where we did like a slider pie, where we went out and got a suitcase of White Castle burgers and chopped them up and made that. Tasted like a White Castle pizza. We did a McDonald's Filet-O-Fish pizza. We've done a Wendy's it was a baked potato, Wendy's baked potato pizza.
Oh, my God.
Of course, the hot chicken pizza has been one of our most popular collaborations. You name it, we've tried to put it on pizza. And we did,
Nice.
what's the French fries with gravy. What's the poutine?
Poutine?
We did a poutine pizza that was pretty good.
Nice. I love poutine.
Yeah, likewise. I don't. Boy, is it rich, and it was a really rich pizza. So we've had so much fun, and I think half the fun with our Pizza of the Week program isn't just the flavor profiles that we put out; it's the names of them. Again, we try to make pizza fun. So, we've had. It's been a blast.
So fun. I love the silly fun stuff, and like at the one on 4th Street or 4th Avenue where you open the door and it's like Samuel L. Jackson. That's such a fun prank. Like just even something like that is so fun.
Yeah, a fake bathroom door is something that we have in. I think every one of our we have it in every one of our shops right now. Any one of our full service shops.
It's a great bit, especially if you had an edible or something like my case and it startled me. I'm suing you. This is what this podcast is about.
Bam. Another intervention. Yeah. Damn
it. And so also another fun thing a lot of people asked is when you do growth and you do expand, do you like do a lot of like market research? Is it more of like vibe still? Because you're still like you are like a regional chain, but you're not like a full on chain yet. Mm-hmm. Like what do you do for expansion? What are your thoughts on that?
All right, voice in my head.
Yeah.
After we just kind of went through what I call a sprint, and we opened up 3 locations in the last like 4 months, and that was kind of at the end of 2024. I know we're still at the end of 2024, but in the last 3 months we did Bridge Park, we've done Easton, and OSU campus. So it was a huge leap forward for us as far as what we want to do, how we want to flesh out a market. And I think what it really taught us is like our team is ready for growth. It's kind of fashionable to be like, oh, the wheels got shaky, but they never fell off.
Yeah.
The wheels didn't even get shaky. Everybody showed up for work the next day and they were like, all right, let's go. Let's do it. Let's do more of these.
What a win.
What a win. Exactly. So it was really cool to see that. And I think what that proved is like we had spent a lot of time getting out of COVID. And when we got out of COVID, we're like, all right, we not only made it, we not only survived, we kind of thrived on the other side. And we spent a lot of time kind of getting our shit together and being like, all right, are we ready to grow on the other side of this? And what we realized is opening up 3 locations in, as many months, that's a hell of a lot of work for any restaurant. People look at us like, are you insane?
Yeah, it's wild.
But it's just kind of the way they all lined up. We didn't plan it that way necessarily, but, stuff gets, ahead of schedule, stuff gets behind the schedule, and then all of a sudden they just mash all together.
Yeah.
And you just do your best. And we had to triage some things, and we had to, push some stuff off. But we got those locations opening. They're incredible locations for us. And it's at this point we look forward and we're like, all right, let's do 3 more this year. Let's do 3 more next year. Let's do 4 more next year. The team's ready. We're ready. We got the car. We got the pit crew, and we're ready to open it up.
That's so cool. It's such exciting stuff. And if you don't want to get into this, we don't have to because I wasn't planning on talking about this, but Hot Chicken Takeover comes to mind, and that makes me think of like, would you ever consider selling to a bigger company to help you expand really quickly?
Are you offering?
No, I don't have any money. I have no capital. I could give you an edible. You want an edible?
Yeah.
I can chill out a little.
I could use one actually right now. So it's Friday, right?
Yeah, totally.
Nothing's off the table. I think if you could ask any single person listening to this, if somebody gave you $1 million to move out of your apartment, would you think about it?
Yeah.
Well, hell yeah, you would.
Of course.
If somebody offered us something, of course we'd think about it, but we're not there yet. And I don't think we'll be there for a little while. So right now it's all about taking care of the locations we have, taking care of the people that we have that are working in and like every day in and out. We have the best team that we've ever had currently, and right now it's just all about taking care of the team, like it's really always been. And if something happens way in the future, of course we'll consider it, but that's not the plan right now.
Gotcha. Because I could totally see Mikey's being like in every single big city, every single college town. Like I feel like it could be like Donato's, Papa John's, like a big regional chain, like in a bunch of cities. I feel like it could take over for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, why aren't you doing more, Mike? You're crushing it currently. But I like to just talk about
because I get distracted.
Yeah. So I always like to ask restaurateurs and business owners, do you have like a favorite meal of all time? It could be something that was like super expensive, something funny happened, maybe saw a celebrity, like just a super great, amazing meal.
Yeah. I do. My wife and I were just in New York City, and I'll give you this story because this was kind of cool. And it's not necessarily a meal, but it was a really fun experience. So about 15 years ago, we went to New York, and my wife and I were on this big Bloody Mary kick, and we found out that in New York City at the St. Regis, at a bar they have in the St. Regis Hotel called the King Cole Bar, is where the Bloody Mary originated.
Oh, cool.
And it was probably our first time to New York City. And we went there like all, super excited to try like the original Bloody Mary. And we get there and we realized that the King Cole Bar was under construction. And we kind of told the bar, the doorman that we're like, we came here for the original Bloody Mary and it wasn't it. And so this is the start of our New York story. And if, those of us who have been to New York, we always have a New York story, right?
Yeah.
And so the doorman kind of looked at us, and we're children. I mean, we are just little babies looking back now. And he does the whole doorman whistle, and gives the old wave to come over. And he ends up putting us in the St. Regis Bentley. And this isn't just a Bentley. It's like a big, commanding vehicle, by far, and probably still the most opulent vehicle I'd ever been in.
Nice.
And he's like, where are you guys going next? Where's next on your list? And we gave him, some other bar that had a cool Bloody Mary or something like that. And he puts us in the back of this car and sends us out to New York.
Nice.
And we look like some kind of royalty that we did not deserve, nor were we comfortable in. And I'm looking in my pockets, looking at her in the back seat, do I tip him?
What do I do?
I have $60. What do I do? I think we ended up giving all the cash in my pocket, the driver, just be like, thank you.
Yeah.
We don't belong here.
Right.
So that was, I would say, just because, so the other end of that story is we were just in New York City this last weekend, and we ended up going back to the St. Regis,
Nice.
and this is as long as we've been back. And we went to the King Cole Bar and finally got our Bloody Mary. So we rounded it
Nice.
out. We didn't get there in the St. Regis Bentley, but we ended up kind of going back and kind of closing off that story. So it was pretty cool. So that one's fresh in my mind.
I love that. And are you a Bloody Mary purist? Do you mind a whole bunch of shit in there? Do you have an ideal perfect toppings for a Bloody?
You know what? Yes, I guess. But one of my favorites, and this is I am an absolute raccoon for admitting this and saying it in public. Probably my favorite Bloody Mary is so basic. And if you've ever been on a plane, you know what you get. You get a can of Mr. and Mrs. T's basic-ass Bloody Mary mix and a little airplane bottle of vodka. And that is probably my favorite Bloody Mary because that Mr. and Mrs. T's, it is the... Call it what you will, but it is solid. It is so good, and just whether it's on a plane or whatever, there's so many mixes that just have literally inches of shit at the bottom of them, and you gotta shake them up, and it's like soup. I think just the Mr. and Mrs. T's basic Bloody Mary mix is just it's probably one of my favorites. So.
Nothing wrong with that. I personally more of a mimosa guy.
Yeah.
But if I do Bloody Marys, I love not too much stuff in it. For me, a perfect would be blue cheese stuffed olives, bacon.
Yep.
And maybe a celery stalk.
Yeah, perfect. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need a rotisserie chicken on the top of your Bloody Mary. It's. But we did just have on the way to the airport, or actually at the airport, the girl asked us, because of course we're at the Chili's too,
Nice.
a couple minutes early.
Brag alert.
Exactly. And she's like, "Do you like a mimosa?" I was like, "Of course we'd like mimosas." And my wife went, light on the orange juice. So she literally took out a dropper.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know where she got it. And she poured us a whole glass of champagne and with a dropper did orange juice on top.
That.
Just enough to tint it
Change
orange.
the color a little bit.
Ever so slightly. And we had fun with that too. So
I fully support that 100%. And she might have been being a smartass, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing, and this is kind of an unpopular opinion I have, is regards to glasses and toppings. I hate a milkshake with all the stuff on the outside of it.
Yeah.
Where it's you get the whole slice of cake, you get the nuts, the chocolate. It's put it in there. I don't want it around the rim of the glass.
A stalk of cotton candy around the top. You're going through a forest to try to get to your milkshake.
It's a bit much.
It's a lot. It really is.
So do you have any unpopular food opinions? I always like to ask people, polarizing food opinions could be something you love that others hate, like pineapple on pizza, truffle oil, I feel like is a good example. Just anything kind of in that space.
It's yes. And again, can't believe I'm admitting this. If you ever see me in Kroger, no pictures, please. You will probably see in my cart a Kroger brand thin crust frozen pizza. No shit. And I always feel like somebody is going to take their picture and put it online and be like, "Gotcha.
Don't look at me."
Yeah, don't I'm walking out of a porn store. Oh, hey, I usually don't come here. I usually don't do this.
It's for a friend of mine, I swear.
It's not mine. It's not mine. I'm picking this up for my kids. It's all elite.
Do you church it up, or you just throw it in the oven and that's that?
There's this one. I mean, I will plant my flag here. There's a Kroger brand of thin crust pizza. It's Kroger brand thin crust double pepperoni. It is one of the best frozen pizzas out there. And if you just want something quick to throw in the oven in 10 minutes and just have it, it's fantastic. So
I love that.
I will Anybody that agrees with me, drop it in the comment section. It's fantastic.
Please let him know. And if you want to roast him too, because a comment's a comment.
Yeah, exactly.
I need help on the algorithm.
I fully expect a little shit for that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Tough but fair. Yeah, I asked Jeff, the owner of Fukuyu Ryu Ramen, I asked him if he liked instant ramen noodles, and he said no. And I was like, come on, dude, tell the truth. Like, be honest. Yeah. He said his family loves it, but it's not for him.
Sure.
So I get it. You're allowed to have frozen pizza. This is a safe space, okay? Yeah. You can eat whatever the hell you want. Do whatever you want. Another fun thing I always like to ask people is, do you have like a favorite representation of food on film? Like, for example, you're a pizza guy, so it could be like Home Alone 2, Pizza in the Limo, something like that, or like any representation of food on film. Do you have a fave?
Yeah, there's a few, and I think there's it's almost like picture your favorite movie and then what's the food that goes along with it. So, one thing that comes to mind just because it's the holidays is Elf, and that, what that did is that movie almost created this like food group of like, what's an elf's favorite food group? Candy corns, candy canes, and maple syrup. Yeah. So Late Night Slice is actually doing a pizza based on that, and you can pre-order it really right now, and especially over the holidays. You can pre-order this pizza that is maple syrup soaked spaghetti on this pizza. Go look online. There's pictures of it everywhere, and marshmallows and M&Ms and Pop-Tarts and what else? Snow caps, those little chocolate chip things. And a couple other things that just make this like mountain of. It looks beautiful. I mean, it's really cool, and it tastes like a s'mores.
Nice.
But it's the pizza based on Will Ferrell's character's favorite food, which is just spaghetti and maple syrup and all this other crap.
That sounds wild, and I guess you have to probably pre-order it because that's not hanging out long, I imagine.
Yeah. And another one I thought of that was really awesome, and it's not really food, but do you remember the movie Hook? Mm-hmm. So Dustin Hoffman is Hook, and Robin Williams and. Julia
Rufio,
Roberts.
all those people.
Rufio. All right, so when they were having their like food fight scene, none of the boys had food. They just imagined it, and all of a sudden they imagined it, and all of a sudden this huge, this what like a buffet, not a
smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord. There it is. That's yes. I think that's always a fun one.
Yeah, that's great. Hook's a classic. I was shocked. Do you know that movie has bad ratings? Like the critics don't like that movie.
I know.
And
Can you believe that?
It's shocking. Like nostalgia, like blindness, because like I'm like, this movie's cinema. This is like a great movie.
It's such a wonderful take on that, and it's never got good ratings.
Yeah,
and it's
weird.
Such a classic.
Do you care about ratings, or are you just like you like what you like and that's that?
Oh, 100%. The former, man. I do not care about ratings. I like some garbage movies.
Me too. I have the worst taste, and the thing is, I like to watch a movie, but I am a nerd, so I like to research, and I'll read what the critics wrote, but after, because I like to get my own opinion.
Sure.
One thing I've noticed, so I've been watching a lot of like 80s and 90s action movies.
Right.
And I feel like they're always ordering pizza, and they almost always, a movie order seems to be always extra cheese.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
And I never order extra cheese. In your professional opinion, do people order extra cheese? Is that just a movie thing?
It is, yes, it's a thing, 100%, but it's not a popular thing. It's not as popular as you think. I think we get more requests for like well done pizzas more than we get extra cheese. I would say, that's out of all of our topping choices, that's probably towards the 10th,
Gotcha.
So we put a pretty decent amount of cheese on our stuff anyway. So like there's a point where it becomes just a little too much, and it's unbalanced at some point. If you want that much cheese, go for a Chicago deep dish. You're not going on a jog later, but I think you plan on that before that.
Totally.
So, right?
And I actually lived in New York for 6 years because I used to do stand-up comedy back in the day. So I moved there to do stand-up, and then my dreams kind of died, and I started a food account, and that blew up, thankfully. So here I am. But, so in New York, the cheese is sparse compared to the Midwest. Like in the Midwest, I feel like our pizzas are so freaking cheesy, but I love it, and I love New York style and I love Columbus style. Are you a Columbus style fan? Like, do you like that crackery crust for yourself?
I do, but it's almost like pizza. When somebody asks your favorite pizza, it's almost like, well, what style are we talking? Because within each segment of pizza, like you can't say like I just love a New York slice and then not even, enter into the possibility of the Chicago deep dish or
Detroit style or
of
Sicilian.
The Detroit style or exactly. So it's like, well, what's your favorite Sicilian style? Like then we can have a conversation. What's your favorite deep dish? Then we can have a conversation. But just to say like, what's your favorite pizza? It's like it's a really hard question to answer because there's, let's get granular on it and then we can start talking about
get into the weeds of it all.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's so many options. So yeah, pizza's so personal. It's the one I think food that is so personal to people, so that's why, the debates about the best pizza. I roll my eyes until I practically injure myself at some of the online forums about people calling their favorite pizza because it's so nuanced. And everybody's favorite pizza is the pizza that they grew up on as kids.
Absolutely.
You go to Dayton and, people love Marion's. And I look at Marion's and I'm like, it's a segment of pizza I call perfectly fine pizza, which is 99% of pizza for me. I have this kind of bullshit line that I'm like, it's perfectly good pizza.
Yeah. It's hard to mess up pizza.
It's perfectly fine. You know, is it great? Is it terrible? It's perfectly fine. And you go to anybody's, childhood area, no matter if the pizza's just, I grew up in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, just north of Akron, and we had this place called Rocco's. And it was the pizza that everybody had at every school event. Literally, if there was a group of people eating pizza, it came from this shop, and you'd get these 4-inch by 4-inch squares, and like puffy, and it'd have one pepperoni right in the middle.
Nice.
And that was pizza to me. And still, I go home and I'm like, I want a Rocco's pizza because that is pizza to me. That's how I grew up, getting acquainted to pizza. So pizza's so personal. So it's hard to have these debates because it's so nuanced depending on where you grew up and how you grew up eating it and what variety are we talking about. So it's fun and it gets frustrating. But.
No, I get it. And so I grew up, my mom was always like kind of anti-toppings. Like she liked just cheese or maybe pepperoni sausage. She never liked a loaded pizza because she felt like it messed up the crust and messed up the cheese. And I agree with that because, like you said, I grew up that way. But some people love like a super mega loaded pizza. I still don't to this day. As far as chains, do you have a favorite chain? Because like you said, just fine. It reminded me of like Little Caesars Hot and Ready. Like they don't say it's good.
Yeah.
It's just hot and it's also ready.
That's where they compete.
So it's like
right.
whatever. My personal favorite chain is, I would probably say Massey's. I consider that a chain.
Yep.
Massey's is top tier. Mm-hmm. And then I also like Marco's if I want like a really greasy New York kind of vibe.
Right, totally. I think my favorite, if I go spend money on pizza, I will probably go to like Tommy's.
Nice.
Tommy's in UA. I mean, it really is. That's a style of pizza that is so good. Mm-hmm. I really dig Tommy's. And then I think there's versions. God, I'm probably forgetting so many. Even here's the thing. You get remember old school Pizza Hut, the fried crust Pizza Hut style, where it's just it's just a pan cooked. Oil on the bottom. Yeah. They fry the crust on the sides. The cheese kind of drips down around the thing. So like even some of those bites, and it can come from Pizza Hut, which is the biggest dude of them out there. Yeah. It's still a good bite. It might not be your first choice, but I think any pizza has. It's like popular music. There's a reason it's popular.
Yeah,
you just got to find the reason it's popular. And you might not like it or them or that style, but find why it is so popular. Mm-hmm. You might not like it. You might think it's trash, but if a ton of people like it, there's a reason.
Totally. And another thing I wanted to say about even regional specific types of pizza is I feel like they're all more similar than they're different. So if you go to Joe's Pizza or you go to Tommy's, they're very similar. You go to Torita's, sure. It's very similar. But people will if you go to the Facebook forums or Reddit, people are die hard that this is infinitely better. Meanwhile, they probably order from the same place. They probably have a similar pepper. You know what I mean? It's it's all very, very similar.
Yeah, exactly. And you just did it too. We get pizza shops as an industry get. I used to live in New York. I know pizza.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Again, I almost injured myself rolling my eyes. Not this time because, present company excluded. But it's so funny.
I'll take the L.
Yeah. People come up, they're like, oh, I know pizza. I'm from New York. And I'm like, I bet you do. Let's see what you look. So that's kind of a funny thing that happens. And anybody that has pizza shops or who has ever worked in one, that happens almost daily.
Totally. I get it. And it's cringe. And especially and I'll call myself cringe because when I first moved back from Columbus, I definitely had that kind of attitude of, ooh, I lived in Manhattan, hoity-toity. Yeah. I was like, who fucking cares? So it's and I will say to defend my own stance is I was a foodie in New York. I wasn't just some guy there. So I was intentionally eating multiple times a week, and that's why I ballooned in size. And here I am.
No, but that's the thing. If you live in that area, and I will give credit to people that have, like yourself, lived in the area and that make it a point to go to those spots, there is a certain expertise that you gain by knowing the differences between this shop and that shop. I mean, when I was in there this last weekend, across the street from where I was staying, which was in Chelsea, there was one of the dollar slice places. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to go try what a dollar slice tastes like. I wasn't expecting anything good, but they weren't advertising anything good. Yeah. They compete on it's $1, and it wasn't $1. It was $3.
Inflation, welcome to.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have cut it in thirds and charged me $1 because of the sign, but and it was perfectly fine pizza. It wasn't terrible. I didn't write home about it, but I wanted to try it. And unfortunately, I wasn't on that kind of. I was on more of a drinking trip
Nice.
than a eating trip.
New York's perfect for drinking. You just take the train or a taxi. You don't have to worry about it.
Oh
It's the
yeah,
best.
exactly. So yeah, like I said, I think when you go out and when you live anywhere, there are Columbus style pizza experts, people that make it a point to try all the ones, and you can talk about it. And there's a good discussion that can be had within any one of those geographical areas. But there's just so many geographical areas. So when you ask like, what's your favorite pizza? It's like I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Do you have a go-to
Are we in
toppings
St.
at least?
Louis? My favorite pizza is pepperoni, mushroom, banana pepper.
Okay.
And if you want to throw some sausage on there, I'll be cool with that too. But that's kind of like at Late Night Slice, there's like Mikey's favorite. That truly is my favorite pizza. Pepperoni, mushroom, banana pepper. Boom.
Nice.
Love it.
And I love the canned mushrooms or the fresh mushrooms because some like high-end places have like the fancy organic mushrooms, and other places have the canned mushrooms. I truly like both.
Yeah.
Do you have a pref on mushrooms?
Oh God, let's get started. Get comfortable. We're digging in. I do not like fresh mushrooms on pizza. And here's why. They are when you cut just a mushroom and you don't bathe it in water or you don't, blanch it in some way, then it's so earthy. I think it's so overpowering, and you can cut them thin, you can cut them thick, whatever. I just think a raw mushroom on a pizza is it's not my preference, and I don't think it makes a pizza good. What I think, if you want a raw mushroom or if you want a fresh mushroom, you got to blanch it, you got to water soak it, because you get under these ovens which are incredibly hot. Depending on what oven they use, a forced air convection or just a solid brick oven, whatever, those things dry out instantly. So you have this like kind of shriveled, like earthy thing that just like. So I think you got to either waterlog it or use canned. I 100% prefer a canned or waterlogged mushroom over fresh on any occasion. Period.
Gotcha. I love that. Do you have I know that you mentioned earlier that you said that when you first started, you didn't really know much. You kind of like watched YouTube and you just kind of like dove all in, which I think is really great. Was there a certain point, like a tipping point, where you guys were getting so big, you're like, holy crap, I need like an official chef to teach me and my staff how to do this? Or like, was it kind of just like you learned as you go from experience and taught your staff that way?
Yeah, 100% the latter. We tripped and crawled and stumbled and made every mistake. I've always said we've done this like slow, hard, and expensive. And like we never brought anybody in that knew what they were doing. In fact, some of the recipes that we started off with in our first few months of business are the same recipes and the same techniques and the same processes that we use today. It's just because we didn't come from a place of classical training as far as pizza goes. We're like, let's figure this out on the way. We literally made pizza on the fly and we figured it out, and that's just how we still do pizza.
Nice.
We make pizza the way we like to eat pizza, and that's luckily the way a lot of people like to eat pizza too. I like to think we're like the anti-Columbus style pizza that's nestled
fair.
in Columbus, because you just don't. There's a lot of people doing tavern cut, edge to edge toppings style pizza, and that's perfectly good. There's an amazing spot for that here. It's what kind of made Columbus. There is a Columbus style of pizza. We just wanted to be kind of the opposite of that, And we have a whole thing in our corporate charter that says it's like no squares. It's one of our like mission, vision, and values. Like we say no squares. Like we'll cut our pizza into as many little slices as you want, but we don't cut it in squares.
Okay.
And it's just one of our. And if you really want to cut in squares, we'll do it. But it doesn't. Our pizza doesn't do well with squares. It's a traditional, New York style, 18-inch big crust style pizza. That style of pizza is not meant to be cut in squares. So we don't want to cut our pizza in squares.
That's where you don't have to. It's cool to be square, I think, but I mean, fuck squares.
Totally. I like my favorite pieces on the square pizza are the little like triangle corners, the little 4 triangles. I will get into any pizza and snag those real quick before anybody else gets them.
It's a tasty bite, man.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, being that there is so many styles here in Columbus and that you are the antithesis of Columbus-style pizza, what do you think made you guys be so popular and so successful? Like, you have all these locations, like, you're beloved. Like, what do you think is your X factor?
I think it goes to, and if you look at pizza as a whole, if you look at pizza as an industry, there's a lot of places where pizza decides to compete. So you brought up Little Caesars Hot and Ready. They compete on speed and convenience. A lot of people compete on the quality of their ingredients. Some people compete on the quantity of the things that they offer. Some people compete on momentum. You know, we're the best new thing. We got the best new rating on, you know, one bite. You know, they compete. That's how they're competing, is momentum. We compete on completely different levels. We compete on experience. We compete on making pizza fun. We compete on our brand that we have fun with. I mean, the levels that, you know, Late Night Slice competes on, in fact, we're barely pizza. You know, we're just a fun place to hang out, and we just happen to serve pizza. So it kind of took the pressure off of our pizza, and I happen to think we have damn good pizza. In fact, we've won, in 614, we've won Best Pizza in Columbus, first place, Best Traditional Pizza, 13 times, maybe 14 now.
Hell yeah, that's great.
We have good pizza.
Oh yeah.
Like it or not, we have good the people have spoken. No, it is good. And you know, when you get to this many places, you know, sometimes you go and you don't have a great experience, and sometimes you go, you have an amazing experience. And that's the hardest thing about having multi-unit, is getting that consistency, you know? So that's something that we always struggle with, is consistency between one experience and another experience. So, you know, I think it goes, if you just look at pizza, where do you want to compete? You know, and we decided that we're not going to compete on our pizza. You know, we have to have a good product, but we're going to compete on everything around pizza. We're going to compete on having fucking awesome social media. We're going to compete on the experience you get when you walk into one of our places. Everything on the walls, on the floors, on the ceilings, on the TVs is curated. Like, you walk in, you see music videos. One thing I absolutely hate, and I wish you could see my face in that one, maybe you will, like eyes rolling back in the head, is when you walk into any restaurant and you look up at the TVs and it's playing people talking about sports on mute, or people talking news on mute.
Yeah, that's the worst.
It is the absolute worst, and it's such a missed opportunity to entertain, right? So that's why when you go into Late Night Slice, you see either music videos, or you see, like, you know, fail videos, or, you know, superhuman videos. It's another way that we try to differentiate ourselves and try to be better than what everybody else is doing.
I love that.
It's just about the experience. You know, it's about making pizza fun.
Yeah, and you do a great job of that. And I will say that, like, when I post you guys, I get some haters, and I'm sure you see haters on forums and stuff. And I think it's just because you're so popular. Like, I think if
the honeymoon's over.
Yeah, like if you had one location, no one would care.
Yeah.
But since you have multiple locations, it's like you get to a certain level of popularity or notoriety, and then people want to try to bring you down a little bit.
100%, and that's perfectly fine. You know, like. I shout out to Cameron Mitchell Restaurants, you know, like, serious, like, people have no idea how hard it is to do what they've done and how big of a restaurant company CMR is. And they just happen to be in our backyard, and they are so generous with their time, their experience for, you know, up and coming restaurant groups like us. It's an absolute treasure to have such a big organization like that doing such an amazing job, and literally from coast to coast. I mean, they have over 100 restaurants. Cento in German Village was their 100th restaurant.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Legit mogul, for real.
And it really is. I mean, one of the biggest and best restaurant tours in the country happens to be in our backyard.
It's
so
nuts.
Unpopular, whatever. They're crushing it day in and day out, and it's a solid experience anytime and anywhere you go.
Absolutely. And you mentioned your social media. I just want to say on air that your social media is awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
I actually own a digital marketing company, and I sent them a message. I was like, hey, whoever's doing this, you're doing a great job. Because I think your photos are great. The captions are great. Like, they're really doing an awesome job. So
thank you. We put now that I'm getting older, we in our team, they don't, we don't connect as much as we used to what the youth is up to. So, we've tried really hard. And Katie, who runs our social media, just absolutely crushes it.
Nice.
We try to be, fun and youthful. And I think when you try to be like, we're fun and youthful, you're officially not. So
yeah, that's when you hire someone else to do it.
That's why you hire somebody else to do it, who's fun and youthful. Yeah. Actually fun and youthful.
I'm not fun, but I make really engaging videos.
Yeah.
So Mikey, do you have any visions of, like, a non-pizza place? Like, could you ever see yourself doing, like, Mikey's Smash Burgers, Mikey's Chicken, something like that?
Mikey's Late Night Rice?
Yeah. Ooh. It sounds so good. I'm sold.
Yeah. No, we've, talk about getting distracted. I mean, we just opened a comedy club like 2 years ago, right? So.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fun.
Yeah, the Attic in the in Old Town East. I would say that what internally we call Mikey's Last Stand.
Cool.
Because we've gotten really focused on the Late Night Slice product. So we've had brands throughout the years, Oddfellows in the Short North, the Sacred Palm, which is our speakeasy underneath High and Vine. We did the Attic Comedy Club. Over the pandemic, we had these ghost restaurants, which were High Horse Vegan Pizza. We had the concept called Fat Slice, which was literally a fourth of a pizza, and then you got to pick all your toppings, and we just rolled it up like a big pizza taco, and you just kind of ate it like, oh, it's awesome. So some of these things, like High Horse Vegan Pizza got wrapped into Late Night Slice. So if you go into any Late Night Slice, our vegan options kind of started with High Horse. The Sacred Palm, if you've ever been down there, is just a blast. I mean, we call it it's a speakeasy and it's a tiki, so we call it our tiki-easy.
Oh, nice.
It's our little tiki-easy down there. Sacred Palm's a blast. And the comedy club was great. We had Dave Chappelle in there 3 times.
That's
so
cool.
we opened something cool and had arguably one of the biggest names in comedy there 3 times. So
that's amazing. How many people does it seat? Like 50, 100?
Yeah, right around 100. So, I mean, it's 100 max. And I think when we had Dave in there, we were right around like 80 ticketed. And there was probably like 20 other people wandering in like me, just like, peeking around the corner like, holy shit.
So did you ever do stand-up, or are you just a stand-up fan?
So I briefly did a show at the Attic. And here's what I realized, and you could probably appreciate this being an actual stand-up comedian. I wanted to host a show for people that had never done stand-up before, but wanted to try. So like an amateur night for people who had never done comedy. And I did a couple of those at the Attic, and then I just realized like how much work goes into being a stand-up comic. And that was one of those things where I was like, this is so much fun. Could be good at it.
Yeah.
But it would be so much work, and it'd be taking my eyes off, the prize right now, and the prize is, growing late night. So, one of those things, maybe in the future I'll do it, but it's so much work.
It is, dude. It's so much
It's a
work.
whole mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to literally, stand up to decide to be funny and to be funny publicly.
Yeah.
And to have bits and to refine those bits. It's a passion. It has to be. It has to be all encompassing.
That's the challenge, is because so many people are funny at the office or funny with their friends and peers, and that's when they have all the context is known. But when you go in front of a room full of strangers that don't know Tom from Harry, it's like you have to be very specific and also relatable, but also surprise them. It's definitely challenging. The thing about passion you mentioned is so true, because like I was met with decent success in New York. I was on MTV a couple times, and I was doing the cool shows. I was doing like improv shows, but I was also doing like cool club shows occasionally.
Yep.
But I just lost the passion.
Sure.
And there's no money in it unless you're famous. So it's like there's no passion, there's no money. What else do I like? I like food because I need attention. I needed to create something.
You and me both.
Yeah. Pay attention to me. Love me, please. So that's my little stand-up journey. And if you ever do stand-up again, I definitely want to come see you. I would love to see you. Heck, even if you want some stand-up coaching, if you want, email me some bits. I will run by some bits with you.
Done.
We can crush that.
Yep.
So, Mikey, I feel like I kind of asked you everything I wanted to ask. But if there's something that didn't come up organically that you wanted to talk about, now's your time to do that.
Oh, hell, I don't know. We covered so much. I mean, that was a lot of turf.
Oh, yeah.
Just excited to be, doing our thing in Columbus. Columbus has been so kind to us. We were just at a big restaurant show out in Las Vegas, and I think one of the coolest things about going out to that show, and this was kind of like what I was told was like the Super Bowl of like multi-unit restaurant conferences right out there. And just saying that you're from Columbus, Ohio, gets you so much cred.
Oh, nice.
Because our industry here and what we've grown as far as multi-unit brands, be it White Castle, be it Wendy's, some of the people in my peer class, Jenny's huge breakout. I mean, they got 70 locations right now or something. So, and we could go on and on. I mean, Sorboro, the pizza, like Sorboro Pizzas, they're a Columbus, they're headquartered in Columbus.
Steak Escape at Columbus, I'm pretty sure, too.
Steak Escape.
They're bigger in the mall area, but they're still around.
And BB Bop and Piata.
Yeah.
I mean, just B-Dubs got their start here. There's so many brands that either are headquartered here, still are headquartered here, or got their start in Columbus. And there's 2 things with that. One, it's just cool to see so many multi-unit brands, and I'm forgetting so many of them. City Barbecue, huge. That not only is it awesome to see so many brands coming from our area, there are so many people here that will answer your phone calls and help out guys like us. And that's one of the coolest things about being in Columbus is that there is such a pool of talent here, accessible and generous talent. So when you pick up when you need help working through something, there's no shortage of people from our town that have done it before and that will help. So it's a really cool time to be in as far as our business.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for all that you do for Columbus and all the great brands that you've made and the pizza parties that you do throughout Columbus. And I wish you many more pizza parties in 2025, my friend.
Pizza party, let's go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. We did it.
Dude, that was a blast.
Oh, yeah. Hey, so that thanks.